a lot of people have been coming to Joondalup from outside of the area and they're unfamiliar with the peculiarities of the Joondalup test area. So today we're going to run you through just a typical test route, which is absolutely at the discretion of the assessor. They can take you wherever they like, but these are places that they are often taking you to, so you can sort of get an idea of where you should be practicing and the sorts of things you should be practicing. So we'll take you out there now. So first of all, when you're doing your driving test, make sure you park the car in reverse in the car park, and that way when you start driving for the first time in your test, you'll be driving out forwards. Now, it's not absolutely necessary to indicate here because there's only one way you can go, but here there is a choice. You have to indicate left here if you're exiting from this direction to let the people know who are coming into the car park. They need to know whether you are going straight ahead or turning left, so it's imperative that you indicate. Now we're going left here at the intersection, which is a stop sign intersection. We must stop completely, and if it's clear and there are no pedestrians trying to cross in front of us, then we can turn the corner. It's most likely that you would go left or straight ahead at that intersection, but no guarantees, but that's the most likely two scenarios. Now coming down to this set of lights, the road branches from one lane to two lanes. When we stop behind a car in front, we make sure that from the driver's seated position you can see the back tyres of the car in front just sitting there on the road, and that is a pretty good guide to stopping a sufficient distance behind the car in front. Something like about 3 metres or 2/3 of a car length. Okay, light's gone green, it's got an arrow, so the car in front's going around on the arrow. We're going straight ahead. When we get through this intersection, the merge point appears here. We check our blind spot to the left. If there was a car flying past us on the left, we'd probably have to let it in. The rule is that the car in front goes first, but sometimes you get aggressive drivers that try and push their way past you, especially if they see driving school signage on the vehicle. They don't want to get stuck behind a learner. Now, just driving very cautiously through there. As you can see, there were a lot of pedestrians, a lot of parked cars, and so our speed was somewhere between 20 and 25 on this occasion. Generally speaking, you'd probably go through there around 30-ish, 30 to 35, but you wouldn't go down there sitting on 50, even though the speed limit is 50. Common sense has to prevail. The road opens up a bit here, it's a bit safer, you can get up closer to the speed limit, but don't drive right on the speed limit, just drive within about 5, that way you won't stray over if you just happen to go down a hill and accidentally pick up speed without realising it. So here we have a right turn at traffic lights without the aid of a right turning arrow. So this is the one that you have to get good at. You will definitely do one of these in your test because they have to test you on such a crucial safety aspect of driving. You've got to be able to get around this corner safely using the correct technique, correct protocols, and make sure that you don't do anything that could cause a crisis. So we've got a vehicle coming towards us. Only one vehicle on that side, but let's have a look at what it's doing. It is indicating to turn right. So at this stage we don't have any vehicles coming straight through or turning in the direction that we are turning. So as things stand at the moment, if the light goes green, we can go straight around. There we go, it's gone green. We turn before the centre. The car on the opposite side turns to before the centre, and we can go around unimpeded. Now, we went straight to the left lane there. That's because we're going to turn left at this intersection here. The assessor would have told you beforehand that we were going to turn right and then turn left in that situation. So you would have known which lane to flow to, and indeed you should flow to that lane, because if you don't, and then you have to change lanes to get into position to do the next turn, you will lose a mark on your test in the category of flow, and the reason will be 2 manoeuvres instead of 1. So this road here is a dual carriageway with a median strip. It looks like a main road, and the speed limit on this road is 50. Now, we did go past a speed sign as we turned onto the road. You could have missed it because there was a lot of stuff going on as we came around that corner. However, if you turned onto this road from one of these other side streets, you would not see a speed sign, such as there. There's no speed sign here. The next intersection here, there is no speed sign. So you have to know that if you turn onto any road and you're not sure of the speed limit in your driving test, you don't exceed 50. Now, we are going to turn right at the 2nd street from here. You could get ahead of the game and get across to the right-hand lane now if you knew that you were turning right, but in the situation we're in now, we're not going to be able to. So we've got a spot of bother. We've got 3 vehicles in the right-hand lane, and we need to get across to the right-hand lane. Strategy here wouldn't be trying to get in front of all these vehicles, it would be to let them go past us. So currently we're in a 50k speed limit. Up ahead there are 2 signs, one on each side of the road, 70 kilometres an hour. Because there are 2 signs, it's a change of speed limit at that point where those signs are. So we cannot exceed the current speed limit of 50 until we pass those signs. Then we can start to speed up to 70, but not before that. If you speed up to say 56 or something before you get to those signs, you'll fail your test for speeding. Okay, we're moving away. We check right and we check left as we take off across the intersection because we were the first vehicle and there could have been someone coming through late on a red light. So we're changing lanes. We check our mirrors, we indicate, we check our blind spot, and we move across. And we power into this lane. We don't slow down because we're going up a hill. And then in the turning lane, we slow down. Okay, we've got a yellow car coming towards us. We'll wait for the yellow car. And we're off the main road now and into the built-up area. So again, built-up area, 50 kilometres an hour. There's no signage, but it's quite clear that it's a built-up area. There are houses on each side. May not be facing the road, but there are houses around. And it's clearly a residential area. If it was going to be more than 50, there would be signage telling us. Okay, on our left here is the Candlewood Shopping Centre. At this point, the assessor would tell you, okay, we're going to come back to that car park shortly, but they want you to find somewhere, maybe somewhere to turn right. When we find a street on the right, we'll turn right, because they're going to get us to park at some point. They haven't told us yet, they're just telling us to turn right. So we check our mirror, we indicate right, we get on the brakes. We wait for the oncoming traffic because we're doing a right-hand turn. You never do a right-hand turn across the path of another vehicle. Okay, now we're on this street. Roundabout now, the assessor may ask you to park the car. Somewhere safe, somewhere legal. This is a bit of a sweeping bend. We would not park here. Down here, there's a house with a black fence. This is the first place that you would consider parking after coming around this bend. Okay, about 30 centimetres from the curb. Okay, so anywhere along here, from where I've parked up to just past those drains on the road, so the first tree after the drains, you could probably park there. Then the road starts to get a bit bendy and it's a bit more dangerous to park the car because you're forcing people onto the wrong side of the road on a blind corner. We don't want to do that. The thing to consider here, okay, first of all, don't park until you get to the house with the black fence. Secondly, don't park in front of a driveway. Some of these driveways are a bit hard to pick out. This one in front, not too bad because it's got a bit of a border around the different sections. But some front yards don't have that, and they've just got front yard running into driveway with no sort of delineation. So you've got to be very careful. We'll see that later on. Okay, so the assessor will be taking this opportunity to tell you what the next section of the test is going to be. And because we're here near the Candlewood shops, it's going to be the stopping for shopping exercise. So they're going to mark you on either a turning around manoeuvre and a parking manoeuvre, or they could just get you to drive directly to the car park and they could mark you for 2 parking manoeuvres. So in the case where you drive directly to the car park, you'd do a forward park and a reverse park. They would be your 2 manoeuvres. In this case, we pulled over on the side of the road. We're not in the car park yet. Our first manoeuvre is going to be turning around. We could use a driveway, a laneway, a side street, anywhere that's safe and legal to turn around. And then when we made our way back to the car park, we would then do 1 parking manoeuvre. So that in total there'd be 2 manoeuvres being assessed. So we're going to move away now. We'll put the car into drive. We'll check our mirrors, there's no one coming, so we'll indicate, check our blind spot and move away. Now it just so happens there's a car on the road in front of us that may cause us some grief. We're going to overtake this car, check our mirrors, indicate, check our blind spot, move out past the car. Watch the driver of that car as we go past. Yes, they're not taking off. We move back in, we indicate back in, and now we're going to turn around using this first side street. Indicator on, turning from close to the centre of the road, and lo and behold, there is a vehicle coming down this street which is causing us to have to change our mind about turning around. Now this can happen in driving tests. So what we do then is we look for another option. Here we've got a driveway on the right. Get off the road, onto the driveway, don't go past the letterbox. Get the car on a slight angle to the right so that when you reverse onto the road, you're not turning a full 90 degrees, you're only turning maybe 70 or 80, and it gets you back onto the road nice and tight on the left. There we go, straighten up. Here to drive, check your mirrors, indicate right, check your blind spot over your right shoulder, cancel. And now we're back to where we were when we had to give up on that hook turn because there was a vehicle coming towards us. So you can't complete that hook turn / U-turn if there's another vehicle coming into that intersection. And it can happen in your driving test, and it can derail the test of even the best prepared candidate. So you've got to be ready, and you've got to have plan B ready. So just making our way back the way that we came. It's never going to be too complicated. It's not so much a navigation test as it's a driving test. We're turning left up here. Coming up close to the giveaway line, having a look. There's no one coming from our right, and around we go. No pedestrians trying to cross in front of us. Making our way back to the shopping centre. Now you'll notice there's this browny reddish colour roadway in the middle. The car in front of us is turning into the shops. They're not really, they did use it, but not to the same extent that we're going to. We get past this driveway, we move across into this red bit so that our right hand wheels are sort of in the middle of it. And that way, if we get stuck here, vehicles behind us can overtake. You know, it could be that we're stuck there waiting for oncoming traffic. We're going to turn in here, and we're going to park in reverse next to another car. Now, we don't want to miss too many opportunities, but we don't want to park next to that great big Amarok. And we don't want to park next to that blue car because it's about 1 millimetre from the white line. We can park next to the black one, so that's 0, 1, 2, 3. Here's the third line coming up here. We're going to stop about here, put the car into reverse. Once it's in reverse, we can turn the indicator off. Now we look behind before we move. Check over our right shoulder. Check in your central mirror. If you've got a camera, glance in that. Check over your left shoulder and keep looking around as you move. As soon as you start moving, we're going into that bay. Now we're looking around as we go. Still looking around, getting ourselves nice and straight. Still looking around as we reverse in. And you can glance at your camera occasionally, only to the extent that you would use a mirror. So you can't stare at it. Okay, I'm happy with that. Into park. Now I'm not mentioning that I'm putting the handbrake on because I've got an automatic handbrake in this car, but if you are putting the car into park, you then put the handbrake on. If you put the car into reverse or into drive after it's been in park, then you release the handbrake manually. But yeah, cars are different these days. Some you got to use the handbrake, some you don't. And the one thing we know for sure is that cars will keep on changing with all these driver aids, and you just need to keep up to date with it. Years ago we didn't have cameras, but now we've got a camera. You'd be crazy not to use it because there could be something behind you that you can't see through the back window. Maybe a small child, maybe a small animal, a shopping trolley, a bollard. So these people that say you can't look at your camera, you can look at your camera. If you caused damage or injured or killed somebody and you didn't use your camera, well, I'd suggest that's a little bit negligent because it's there, and that's the reason it's there for, as a safety device. So use them, but don't overuse them. You need to prove to the assessor that you're capable of looking around and safely parking a vehicle that's not equipped with a camera. Okay, we're going to move away now. So, as we move out of this parking space, very important that we look both ways. Also that we just check there's no one walking on each side of us. And out we go to the left. We've got to indicate, of course. and just making our way out of the car park. Now there is no possible way we can go other than right here, so if you don't indicate right, not a problem. If there was a choice to make, then yes, of course you have to indicate. Coming up here, we're going to turn left. We're just checking to our right there because somebody might come barreling through. It's a bit of a dogleg road, so they didn't actually have right of way. And we're just coming down here and we're going to turn left. Okay, crossing a footpath, exiting a car park, just check for pedestrians. If there are any, just let them go. Coming down to a T-junction, we'll be giving way to traffic on the continuing road. We are on the terminating road. We look both ways, there's nobody coming to give way. We don't have to stop. Through we go. But we have to look both ways, and we have to make sure we look left as the very last thing we do. Just being careful not to speed down this hill. And we're going to turn right onto a main road. Now the assessor may or may not give you a heads up on what the speed limit is on this road. That's so that you don't make any bad decisions based on misinterpreting the speed of the approaching vehicles. We look to the right, we look to the left. We're going to go to the middle because we can. We wait for the traffic to go past, and then it's clear. We make our way directly to the left-hand lane if we can, because we've only been told we're turning right. We don't know anything about any further turns, so we drive in the default lane. Now, as we drove onto this road, the assessor may have already told us what the speed limit is. There was no sign, so if you hadn't been told, you would not know what the limit was. If you didn't know what the limit was, the only safe thing to do in your driving test is to say to the assessor, I don't know what the speed limit is here, I'm going to assume that it is 50. And then the assessor won't want you to drive at 50 on a main road, so they will most likely tell you what the limit is. If they tell you the limit, you can trust them, they're not going to lie to you. At some point you may see a sign, but it could be quite a distance, so you have to make that comment just to explain why you are driving so slowly on a main road. It's not your fault if you're not familiar with the area, but if you've been practicing in the area and you know full well where you are and you know the limits on those roads, then you can drive to those limits. Okay, we're going to take a right turn at this roundabout, which just happens to be the second exit because there is no exit to the left. So, second exit, going off to the right. It's the second exit, we get past the first exit and then we indicate left straight away. That way the oncoming white car knows that we're bearing off. You must indicate off every roundabout, and it must be a left indicate. We're going to turn left into this street. And now the assessor might tell you to find somewhere safe and legal to park. Now let's not park close to a side street. Let's not park in the intersection. Let's not park across the driveway. There's already a vehicle parked in one of these candidate spots. Let's go past this car. We'll indicate as we go past. We'll check the driver's seat to make sure that they're not taking off as we go past. And we're going to park down here. There's a good spot here because there are two houses together with their driveways at each end. So we've got about 30 metres of front yard there. It's all brick paved, but it's not driveway. And we're parked here on a street where we're about to commence the left something behind exercise. Now, left something behind requires you to do two manoeuvres that you're going to be assessed on. You're parked here, you've got to make a note of where you are, and then the assessor will, as you drive away, they will say to you at some point, and it may be after you've turned a corner, they will say to you, you've left something behind, or you've left your wallet behind, or something to that effect. You need to go back to where you were. And you need to park facing in the direction that you started in, and you need to park on that side of the road. So you've got to turn around twice. If someone's stolen your spot, park somewhere nearby, somewhere safe and legal. It can get a bit busy on these streets sometimes because a lot of assessments are done on these streets and a lot of lessons are done. And also local residents might get a bit annoyed and park on the street themselves. So that can happen. So you just got to find somewhere safe and legal. It may even be you have to go down the street and around the corner in extreme cases, but you've got to park somewhere. So we're about to commence the exercise. We know where we are. We've made a note of any sort of landmarks at the house so we don't get lost. And it's quite likely, because we're so close to an intersection, that the assessor will actually get us to turn a corner first before they mention it. We can turn around in driveways, laneways, side streets, or some little recesses that might be on the side of the road that are appropriate for turning around in, and I'll show you them. So, Into drive. Check our mirrors. Yep, there's no one coming. Indicate. Check your blind spot and move away. Cancel the indicator. Okay, they'll tell you to turn the corner. They're probably going to tell you to turn right here. So we need to make a safe right-hand turn. And around about now, they may tell you you've left something behind. Check our mirrors, indicate, check our blind spot. Now this car's forced us to get on the wrong side of the road just near an intersection. So I'm going to get back. I don't want to be on the wrong side of the road in the intersection. Okay, now I'm going to go past this car again. I could have turned around there, but I'm just going to illustrate to you another place where you can turn around. We go past, we check the driver, make sure they're not taking off. Here's a good little spot to turn around. It's a 90-degree corner, but if we indicate left and come in here, and then change our indicator to right, we now have a panoramic view, if we turn our head, up both sides of the street. It's the perfect place to turn around as long as there's nobody parked in that street. Oh, sorry, in that little recess area. All right, so we've completed one of our turns. We're making our way back to where we came from. Now this is the street we came out of, so indicate left, check out mirrors, put on the brake, round the corner. Now we're just going past where we were, but we've got to get back to there now. Now there are driveways, yeah sure, but why use a driveway when you're going to have to reverse on a windy road when you can do the manoeuvre totally in a forwards direction? So we indicate left here, we come in. This time luckily there's no one coming towards us when we're trying to do our hook turn. So we change our indicator, check over our shoulder, and we come around. We don't poke our nose back onto the road, we check first. Back onto the street, looking for where we were parked before. Yeah, it's down here where these two front yards sort of join together with no driveways. Coming in close to the curb but not hitting it. About 30 centimetres from the curb. Into park. Handbrake on if you've got a manual handbrake. Indicator off. And that's it. That's the end of that exercise. So they're marking you on flow, movement and path on the manoeuvres, and they're marking you on looking and signalling and movement and path and vehicle management, all those things on the general exercise. So we drove out of the car park at the start, we went and did left something behind, sorry, went and did stopping for shopping at the car park, and then we drove between the location for that exercise and the location for this one. Now we've done this exercise, we're 4 sections into the test. All we've got to do now is drive back to the licensing centre, and that'll be the completion of 5 sections. So, into drive. Check our mirrors, no one coming. Okay, let's get the indicator on. Check our blind spot, move away, cancel the indicator, and yeah, that car's far enough away. We'll just hang back, let them do what they've got to do. They were committed. Turning left up here, so we're always checking our mirror before we brake. Of course, the speed limit on these built-up area roads is 50. Doesn't necessarily mean you do 50 everywhere. That's the limit, that's the upper limit in perfect conditions on a straight road with perfect visibility. Now, this exit from the roundabout, which is supposedly straight ahead, is a bit to the right, so we'll just indicate right here, indicate left to get off. If the second exit is, if the exit straight ahead is more than straight ahead, so it's out to the right a bit, then you should indicate, just to let people know where you're going. Okay, we're up here at a give way sign coming onto a busy main road. It's a dual carriageway with a big median strip, so you've got turning lanes there with the car in front of us is turning across. We're watching to our right, that right side is clear now. We checked left, the left side is clear. The road's completely clear. We look left again and again, and we go directly to the left-hand lane because we can. There's nobody behind us in the left lane. Both lanes were clear, so this is the lane of choice. Now I happen to know that this road is 70, even though I haven't seen a sign, so I'll use common sense and drive to 70. But again, if in your driving test you're not totally familiar with where you are, quite entitled to drive onto that road and do 50, and just state to the assessor that you're not sure of the speed limit, so you don't want to speed. They'll tell you what the limit is. They're not going to have you plodding along that road at 50 causing all sorts of havoc. But anywhere between 65 and 70 on your speedo is fine. Ideally not 70 exactly, because then you've got no margin for error if you stray over. So if you've been travelling okay in your test, you really just got to hold it together for the next 5 minutes and get back to the licensing centre. Up ahead we've got traffic lights. They're red. We don't slow right down and try and time it to get to them when they change. We drive to the traffic lights and we stop. If you start trying to get clever and start crawling towards traffic lights, the assessor doesn't know whether you're doing that because you're trying to time the lights or whether you're just a slow driver. So always just drive normally, get to the light, stop, wait for the green light and go. Don't try and conserve fuel or do anything fancy. Because it may be that the car behind you is just wanting to come up to a turning lane and turn left, and you may be holding them up, so you don't want to be holding up traffic. Again, we are first car in line here at the traffic lights. If we're the first car in line, you must look right and you must look left in your driving test, and you should do it whenever you're driving anyhow. My advice to you is always look right and left when you go through a traffic light, regardless of whether you're the first car in line or not. You never know what the reason might be for someone coming through a red light on the other road. Right, look left. Don't let it slow you down, but just check as you drive out. Here are the change of speed limit signs. It's going from 70 down to 50. Don't be sucked in by the cars going past you. 90% of the cars on this road will speed, and if you just drive along with the traffic flow, you will also speed. And speeding incurs demerit points, and it also causes you to fail your test. Anything that results in a fine or demerit points is an instant fail in your driving test. Now you may note on the GPS speed in the bottom left corner that I'm going a little bit slow at times. That's because my car speedo reads faster than the actual true speed on the GPS, on the dash cam. But you must drive to your car speedo. Okay, we're going to turn left at the traffic lights. This is a merge point. As you come through here, stay left because we're going to turn left soon. Check your blind spot to the right just now. Don't indicate left yet, there's a side street. Got past the side street, indicate left, drive across all of these solid lines and the broken lines. That way you're not getting in the way of people in the other lane. Now we're going to turn left here and then we're going to turn right. So we flow straight to the right-hand lane. If you didn't flow straight to the right-hand lane after having been told that you were turning left and then right, you would lose a mark for flow, as I said earlier on in the video. And you don't want to lose those silly cheap marks. So drive to the standard that's expected. You can flow to another lane as long as it's not a roundabout, and as long as there's not two lanes designated with arrows on the road for turning in a particular direction. There's not too many of them around. There are some. Occasionally you'll get two arrows turning right, two lanes turning right, or two lanes turning left. You can't change lanes in those turns, and you can't change lanes in the roundabout. Even if it's legal, you can't demonstrate it safely, so you don't do it. If you're turning in a multi-lane roundabout, or you're going straight through a multi-lane roundabout, you stay in your lane for the full duration of the roundabout, and then you can consider doing a lane change afterwards if you need to. Now we're almost there. We've got to the stop sign, re-entering the car park if you're coming this way. You come as close to the line as you can, you check both ways, and lo and behold, there's lots of cars coming from our right. So we're just going to wait. We don't want to do anything dangerous. It's looking good in a moment. Last car from the right, no one coming from the left. And okay, we've nearly made it. And then we're just looking for a parking space. And here's one here, between these two cars. Pick an easy spot. This one's probably not the easiest, but just get in nice and central, nice and straight. Straighten your wheels before you stop. You don't want to leave your car with the wheels pointing anything but straight on a flat road. And into park, handbrake on, and that's it. Thanks for watching. As I said, this is not the definitive driving test. This is an example. Okay, the one thing I would say for now is they tend not to be going to the area that colloquially is known as Little Britain. It's the area to the north of the Joondalup Hospital. You'll know it because the streets are called Regent's Park, Piccadilly, Notting Hill, Plaistow. those sorts of names. They're all sort of English names. And since Joondalup reopened, they tend to keep away from there. So the two things at the moment is that they keep out of Little Britain, and you're more likely to turn left or go straight from the car park coming out of here. That doesn't mean you'll never go right. There are instances where people go right, but yeah, more often than not you'll go straight or turn left. That's it. We'll put some more up, some more examples progressively, but that's just a bit of a heads up.